Hello and welcome to this edition of Wineskins. I'm your host, Father Jim Corda. Wineskins features reflections on the lives of the saints and the sacred scriptures, along with thoughts on a variety of topics and issues from a Catholic perspective. It is brought to you by the Annual Bishop's Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts, a division of the Society of St. Paul. On our show today, we will enjoy an interview that I had with President Jim Tressel from Youngstown State University in Part 3 of our series called Spotlight. We will also look at the life and times of Blessed Teresa of Calcutta, and we will hear a reflection on the readings for this 22nd Sunday in Ordinary Time. That and more coming up on Wineskins. In our current issue today, we will hear more about the upcoming presenters for the First Friday Club of Youngstown.
I'm here today with Ray Novotny from the First Friday Club of Greater Youngstown. Welcome, Ray.
Good morning, Sister Mary.
We're just finishing our 9th season of the programming for First Friday. How did it go this year?
Our 9th season was probably the best year that we've had so far, and it will be even better in the 10th season.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Who were some of the highlights from the 14-15 year?
My favorite presenter last year was John Angotti, who's a musician out of Memphis, Tennessee, born right downriver in West Virginia, though. And he did an outstanding job, had the local high school students up and dancing in the aisles with him, and did a wonderful presentation.
Yeah, I remember some of those speakers. They really were very well received, and every topic was so informative and inspiring, really. Who do we have to look forward to in 2015, 2016?
Well, we're starting off with Diane Bergant out of Chicago, and when she asked me what to talk about, I noticed that in 1998 she wrote an essay on the environment, scripture, and God. And with Pope Francis's recent encyclical on the care for our common home, she's going to tie in her knowledge about Scripture and the environment along with what Pope Francis has recently published.
Right. That'll be our September speaker, correct?
That's our September speaker, yes.
Right. Now, I noticed we have some local talent as well. Who are some of the speakers from our own Greater Youngstown area who will be joining us this year?
From the Greater Youngstown area, we'll have Jim Tressel, president from YSU. Bishop Murray will be with us in February. President of Walsh University, Rich Jusame, will be with us in March. And there's some presenters from Cleveland. But we will also have Lou Zona from the Butler Institute of American Art, and he's going to talk to us about 5 artists that have been inspired by God in the universe in their artwork.
Oh, that sounds really interesting.
And then our own Brian Corbin, who we have on loan to Catholic Charities USA, who is now the Senior Vice President of Social Policy for Catholic Charities, will be with us in August.
Oh, that'll be great. It'll be kind of a homecoming for Brian.
Yes.
That'll be great. Tell me a little bit about the First Friday Club. When does the First Friday Club meet?
The First Friday Club meets on the first Thursday of every month.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
We do that because we do share speakers with the First Friday Clubs of Canton and Cleveland and Akron on occasion.
Okay, so the first Thursday of the month usually.
First Thursday of the month. And the origin of First Friday is we follow the Sacred Heart devotion, where we have a monthly renewal of one's faith, a personal response to God's love realized in worship and mission. We also are aware of God's call to us to bring God into our daily lives. And with our speakers, they help us to answer our baptismal call of being sent out to proclaim the good news.
So there really is a faith dimension to all of these speakers.
Yes.
Good. And where does the First Friday Club meet?
First Friday Club meets at Antone's Banquet Center, which is near the corner of Market Street and Western Reserve Road in Boardman.
Oh, so it's easily accessible either by Market Street or by 680.
Yes, and it's all one level. It's a large parking lot. It's handicap accessible. And the most important thing, the food is excellent.
That's always an important thing. I believe the price is reasonable for a single person to go to a lunch.
Yes, the price is $16. We serve lunch at 11:30. The speaker begins at 12 and finishes at 1 o'clock. So if you're out there still working for a living, you can come have lunch, listen to an excellent speaker, and then head back to work and be there by 1:15.
Now, this will be the 10th season of the First Friday Club. It seems to have been successful over all these years.
Yes, we average probably 200 people or more at every session.
And there's no particular membership that's open to anyone who's interested in coming to hear our speakers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, even so we call ourselves a club, but the club is open to anybody who wants to focus on their own life of faith and their own response to God's call in their lives.
That is right.
Yeah, so we're welcome to anyone. If a person's looking for more information about the First Friday Club of Greater Youngstown and wants to find out more about the particular programs, there's a website that the First Friday Club has. Is that correct?
Yes, and I think you have that in front of you.
I do. It is First Friday Club of Greater Youngstown. All of those words are spelled out, all lowercase. So First Friday Club of Greater Youngstown.org. There's also a link to the First Friday Club on the Diocese of Youngstown webpage, so you could go there as well. If you wanted to call for reservations or call for more information, we do have a phone number. The number is 330-720-4498. That's 330-720-4498. So, Ray, any last words before we sign off for today?
At First Friday, we try to raise an awareness of spiritual issues, theological issues, moral issues, and the social issues that are of our current time. So come join us on the first Thursday of every month at Antone's Banquet Center.
Okay, we look forward to hearing the speakers at the First Friday Club and also here on Wineskins. Thanks very much, Ray.
Thank you, Mary.
For Wineskins, I am Sister Mary McCormick.
To tell us more about the life and times of Blessed Teresa of Calcutta is Martha Coulter from St. Jude Church in Columbiana.
Born on August 26th of 1910 to Albanian parents in what is now Macedonia, Agnes was the youngest of the 3 children who survived. For a time, the family lived comfortably, and her father's construction business thrived. During her years in public school, Agnes participated in a Catholic sodality and showed a strong interest in the foreign missions. At age 18, she entered the Loreto Sisters in Dublin. It was 1928 when she said goodbye to her mother for the final time and made her way to a new land and a new life. The following year, she was sent to the Loreto Novitiate in India. There, she chose the name Teresa and prepared for a life of service. She was assigned to a high school for girls in Calcutta, where she taught history and geography to the daughters of the wealthy. But she could not escape the realities around her: the poverty, the suffering, the overwhelming numbers of destitute people. In 1946, while riding a train to make a retreat, Sister Teresa heard what she later explained as a call within a call. The message was clear: I was to leave the convent and help the poor while living among them. She also heard a call to give up her life with the Sisters of Loreto, and instead to follow Christ into the slums to serve him among the poorest of the poor. After receiving permission to leave Loreto, establish a new community, and undertake her new work, she took a nursing course for several months. She returned to Calcutta, where she lived in the slums and opened a school for poor children. Dressed in a white sari and sandals, the ordinary dress of an Indian woman, she soon began getting to know her neighbors, especially the poor and the sick, and getting to know their needs through her visits. The work was exhausting, but she was not alone for long. Volunteers who came to join her in her work, some of them former students, became the core of the Missionaries of Charity. Others helped by donating food, clothing, supplies, and the use of buildings. In 1952, the city of Calcutta gave Mother Teresa a former hostel, which became a home for the dying and the destitute. As the order expanded, services were also offered to orphans, abandoned children, alcoholics, the aging, and street people. For the next 4 decades, Mother Teresa worked tirelessly on behalf of the poor. Her love knew no bounds, nor did her energy as she crisscrossed the globe pleading for support and inviting others to see the face of Jesus in the poorest of the poor. In 1979, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. On September 7, 1997, God called her home. Mother Teresa of Calcutta, the tiny woman recognized throughout the world for her work among the poorest of the poor, was beatified on October 19th of 2003. Among those present were hundreds of missionaries of charity, the order she founded in 1950 as a diocesan religious community. Today, the congregation also includes contemplative sisters and brothers and an order of priests. Speaking in a strained voice at the Beatification Mass, St. Pope John Paul II declared her blessed, prompting waves of applause before the 300,000 pilgrims in St. Peter's Square. In his homily, read by an aide for the aging Pope, the Holy Father called Mother Teresa one of the most relevant personalities of our age and an icon of the Good Samaritan. Her life, he said, was a bold proclamation of the gospel. Mother Teresa's beatification, just over 6 years after her death, was part of an expedited process put into effect by St. Pope John Paul II. Like so many others around the world, he found her love for the Eucharist, for prayer, and for the poor a model for all to emulate. For Wineskins, I'm Martha Coulter.
We're talking with President Jim Tressel from Youngstown State University. And President Tressel, now we want to talk primarily about YSU. It's got a rich tradition. You're certainly one of the newest parts of that tradition. Tell us, kind of in a nutshell, the goal or the charism of YSU.
What really attracted me to have the passion to come back and take on a whole different role in a world that I'd never experienced was that it was so obvious to us when we were here for 15 years that Youngstown State University is really critical for this region. And people really believe that. There are some entities, institutions that are important for areas and people don't even realize it. But everyone knows, or not everyone, but many people know the relative importance of Youngstown State and what we provide for the young people that attend, for the spirit of the community, for the economic impact of the community, and for the future of the community. And so, my biggest goal is to make sure that we're a great partner, that we can provide all we can provide. I think nearly 600,000 or 700,000 people utilize our campus in the course of a year, whether it be for entertainment, going to the arts, going to an athletic event, using conference areas for learning opportunities, and on and on and on. And we want to be a destination to enrich people's lives. And we also want to be a destination to help people go and reach their dreams. We want to be a destination that helps create our workforce that will attract business. We want to be here to support business. We want to be a part of the research that can maybe innovate and bring people from outside the region. And so it's really a thrill, to be a part of an institution that can be such a difference maker. And just being around our faculty and staff and students and seeing what they're doing in their particular areas. We probably need to be more integrated and interdisciplinary and maybe more appreciative of one another, which is, I guess, the same in society. It's a fun place to be, and we have a lot of opportunity.
What's the sense of collaboration or cooperation? You had mentioned the word cooperation with other entities, like maybe other educational institutions, either locally or nationally. What are those efforts that you use to try to bring groups together and institutions together that share the same goals, that can work together? Because I think in this world, it would be better if we put our resources together to meet a goal or objective.
Well, and we do a pretty good job with it, but we need to do much better, I think. We have a great relationship with the area schools. A lot of high school students take courses at YSU, and they're able to move toward their college degree when they're not even in college yet, and that's a great financial savings. A lot of interaction between the teaching staffs of the high schools and the university. We're involved right now with a big project with the Youngstown City Schools and helping the second graders get ready for the third grade reading test, which is fundamental number one if you're going to progress. We're very involved with the business community. Our small business development group is fantastic in what they do, having our students help start up businesses, help people who don't maybe have the staffs. to do marketing or to do market research or to do various things. All of our colleges, whether it's our engineering or our College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences or College of Health and Human Services with the social work networks and so forth, great collaboration, in large part because many of the people are at YSU grads and they know they have resources back on campus. And so a lot of what we do is that collaboration, and I think that's why there is a general belief that YSU is a critical component, even in areas that aren't much publicized. We just had a meeting with a lot of the educational entities. We called it a Summit on Education, and we brought in Eastern Gateway leadership, our leadership, Youngstown City Schools, Mahoning County Schools, and some manufacturing companies, and we said, okay, what is it from a workforce standpoint that our whole education system needs to be able to contribute? And okay, we got to figure out who's going to do it, and we can't duplicate services because we just can't afford for everyone to do everything, and so we're rooting for the trade schools to do well, and the tech schools and the Eastern Gateways and the primary and secondary schools, and because our task, we think, is to educate so we have a responsible citizenry, number one, and so we can compete in the marketplace, number two.
We've got about a few minutes left of our final segment. As you plan for the future, and I think like any healthy, competent institution, planning is certainly part of it, what are some of the hopes that you have for YSU and for the people in the Valley?
Well, it's interesting you bring up that word planning. This past summer, I went to Harvard for a new president's seminar, and so I'm a proud Harvard graduate. And but one of the great takeaways I got from one of the speakers that week was, if you don't have a great plan, your plan will become your budget. And you know how we all struggle with budgets. And all of a sudden, they take charge of what we're able to do because they seem like they have a stranglehold on our capabilities. And we need to do just what you suggest, is we need to really give a lot more time and energy for a strategic plan that will meet the needs of our region, will meet the needs of the people in our region, will meet the needs of the businesses we're trying to attract, will meet the needs of beyond our immediate region so that we can be a part of something even bigger. And really that's what we've probably spent more time on in our 9 months here so far, is making sure that we're working on the right things and getting lots of input. We want everyone's opinion, but then there comes that point in time where you have to make some tough decisions which aren't always popular, but planning is really critical.
Well, President Tressel, we certainly appreciate your time on our Spotlight show today. We thank you for your presence not only here but in the Mahoning Valley. You certainly have been an impact in the past. You are here in the present, and we know in the future that certainly will continue to come to beautiful things for our valley, for YSU, and for people in general. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. It's a pleasure.
And thank you for being with us. Have a good day, and God be with you.
For more information, please visit the website www.doy.org of the Catholic Diocese of Youngstown for more information. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
By the time we can walk, each of us yearns for the joy that comes from being able to do for ourselves. Church World Service believes that being self-reliant is a joy everyone should share. So around the block or around the world, share the joy. Church World Service. 33 million Americans have descended into poverty. And as their futures fall, so does our nation's.
Our music today is provided by a variety of sacred artists and musicians. It is from their CD called Troubadour for the Lord.
Glory be to the Father, glory be to the Son, glory be to the Holy Spirit. Alleluia. Glory be to the Father, glory be to the Son, glory be to the Holy Spirit. Alleluia. We come into your presence, Lord, with thanks for all you've done. We long to see We're grateful for your love. We pray, oh Lord, to be like you, to look out through your eyes, forgiving all who injure us, to be merciful and kind. Glory be to the Father, glory be to the Son, glory be to the Holy Spirit. Hallelujah. Glory be to the Father, glory be to the Son, glory be to the Holy Spirit. Hallelujah. Here we humbly call to you to save all those we love. Cover us with healing grace. In you we place our trust. With you all things are possible. In Jesus' holy name. Praise and honor, Lord of all. Your glory we proclaim. Glory be to the Father. Glory be to the Son. Glory be to the Holy Spirit. Hallelujah. Glory be to the Father. Glory be to the Son. Glory be to the Holy Spirit. Hallelujah. Glory be to the Father, glory be to the Son, glory be to the Holy Spirit. Hallelujah. Glory be to the Father, glory be to the Son, glory be to the Holy Spirit. Hallelujah. Glory be to the Father, glory be to the Son, glory be to the Holy Spirit. Hallelujah. Glory be to the Father, glory be to the Son, glory be to the Holy Spirit. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
On this 22nd Sunday in Ordinary Time, we will hear more about the sacred scriptures by Father Terry Hazel, pastor of St. Michael Church in Canfield.
They say you cannot judge a book by its cover, but you know what? We do. All the time. A few years back, Oprah offered her views on how we judge people by the externals. She staged two women going into an exclusive shop to buy expensive clothing. The first woman, dressed in jeans, had disheveled hair and drove into the lot in an old car. This lady was all but ignored in the store and was treated as though she had no business being there. The second woman, dressed in the latest fashions, had an expensive hair arrangement and drove a BMW. This lady received immediate attention and even found it difficult to disengage the salesperson. The conclusion of the experiment was clear. What you wear, how you look, and the car you drive does make a difference. You cannot judge a book by its cover, but we all do. Teachers and employers all know it's easier to be patient with someone who is good-looking than with someone who is not. In today's gospel, the scribes and the Pharisees show themselves to be very concerned about the outside of the person. Jesus used the occasion to teach them and us that we should be more concerned about what is happening within. Jesus did not say it is wrong to be concerned about externals. Most parents insist that their children wash their hands before eating, and that is good. Many teens and even adults like to wear brand-name clothing and shoes, and there's nothing wrong with that. The point Jesus was making is that the Pharisees and the scribes were putting too much emphasis on the outside and not enough emphasis on the inside. what was happening within the human heart. Jesus was very concerned with the heart, and so should we. You know that we all worry about eventually getting hardening of the arteries, because that affects the operation of the heart. But what we really need to worry about is hardening of the attitudes. That really affects the operation of the heart. The gospel tells us that nothing that enters a person from outside can make him impure. Only that which comes out of him, and only that makes him impure. It is not enough to focus on what we are eating. We also need to focus on what is eating at us. Things that eat at us are usually escape through the mouth. That is what the readings are about. The first reading talks about keeping the commandments. The commandments can be something written on a piece of paper or stone, or they can be written in the human heart. The reading from Deuteronomy says, "You must observe them carefully, for thus will give evidence of your wisdom and intelligence to the nations." The second reading reminds us that our source of strength is from above. Don't we often forget this? Don't we often think that we can manage all by ourselves? Don't we often forget to ask for God's help? And so, do we have hardening of the arteries? It can be deadly. Do we have hardening of the attitudes? It is even more deadly. We pay careful attention to what we eat, but do we pay attention to what is eating at us? What is eating at us? Hatred, jealousy, selfishness, anger, revenge, regret, depression? In conclusion, keep the commandments and remember that our source of strength is from above. That is the message of the Scriptures today. Don't overemphasize the externals. Look at what's inside the human heart, the attitudes, the faith, the goodness, the sincerity, and the love. For Wineskins, this is Father Terry Hazel.
Have you ever thought about your spiritual environment? What is the advantage of having a clean world if we do not have clean hearts and souls? Jesus tries to get us to understand the need to correct the wrong attitudes that we have, to stop the flow of unkind words, and to repent of evil done and the good left undone. Wineskins is made possible through the annual Bishop's Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts. Our program is produced by CTNY, the Catholic Telecommunications Network of Youngstown. I'm Father Jim Corda, thanking you for being with us. Have a blessed week.